Advaita VedAnta. And now, again with your indulgence, we'll have a little practical exercise. Okay? So I need 2 volunteers. I'll call on you and ask you a question, and if you'd answer, that'd be great. Okay? So I'll start with the lady here. Yeah. So who are you and where do you come from?
I'm Karen. I come from Ames.
Carrie from Ames. Okay. And sir, would you oblige?
I'm Wally. I'm also from Ames.
Wally is from Ames. Okay. Great. Now, the point that I'm trying to make is we all have some notion of our identity. Right? So the first thing we say is, this is my name, and this is where I come from. You might then say, I do this, or I'm a father, or I'm a, you know. So we have these identities that we have constructed, right? And what Advaita talks about is, what is the real you? Okay? Because I can change my name tomorrow. I could make my name Carrie. People may laugh at me, but in principle, I could go to a court and change my name and be called Carrie. So my name is actually nothing, right? It can go tomorrow. Right? Today I'm a teacher. Tomorrow I could be kicked out of the job. Right? But I respond in the same way that you guys do. Somebody asks me, I say, I'm Shankar, this is what I do. It's natural, right? So I'm trying to say that this is where we're at. Now let me turn the clock back from 2011 to say about 800 AD. Okay? So now Adi Shankaracharya is 12 years old. And he is traveling, walking to the banks of the Narmada in search of a guru. Okay? And there he meets this person, Govindapadacharya, who says, Kastvam kuto ayasi. Who are you and where have you come from? And Sri Adi Shankaracharya says, Mano buddhyahankara chittani naham nacha shrotra jihve nacha grana netre nacha vyoma bhumi na tejo na vayu chidananda rupa shivoham shivoham. So what he says is, I am not the various faculties of the internal instrument. Okay? That is what buddhi, ahankara, chitta, all these are. I am not the ear, I am not the tongue, I am not the nose, I am not my eyes. So he says he's not the body, he's not identified with the body. I am not the heavens, I am not the earth, I am not the effulgence in fire, I am not that which flows in vayu, in air, but I am that blissful consciousness who is ever auspicious. Indeed, I am that blissful consciousness who is ever auspicious. Okay? Now you might say, whoa, at 12. Okay? So why do we not see things? Why do we not see things the way he does? That is the question. Do you agree with me? Right? So he then goes on to say that I am not prana, I am not the 5 vital forces, etc. And there's one interesting part that comes. He says, I am not greed, I am not virtue, I am not vice. I am not pleasure, I am not pain. So these are opposites. So you see there's a duality. I am not virtue, I am not vice. I stand above that. I am not pleasure, I am not pain. There's something beyond that. Right? And then he says something very interesting. Aham bhojanam naiva bhojyam na bhokta. This is very important from a philosophical standpoint. Bhojanam is that which you enjoy. Okay? It could also mean food in some cases. So the object of enjoyment. I am not that. I am not the act of enjoyment itself. And I am not the enjoyer. This is a very significant verse because now we talk about a triad. In all perception, there is something to be known, there is an act of knowing, and there's a knower. So there's a triad. In all external life, there's a triad. Even when you dream, there's a triad. Right? So this is beyond the waking, dreaming states that he's talking about, where there is no distinction. So that is why non-dualism, it's not 3, it's not 2, but it's 1. That's what he's trying to bring out in that way. Now, and this was before he got initiation. So after he got initiation, he then realized that the entire world is this consciousness, and which is why he wrote all his stuff. So I'll leave it with that, and if you have any questions, I'd be happy to take any comments, questions on what we talked about. And
yeah. Phrase Advaita.
Yes.
Really with that which is not as Vedanta does not have two forms.
Mm-hmm.
So, what is it that Shankara emphasized when he said there is nothing, there is no two in it?
Okay, so maybe you led me into the last slide which I didn't show yet, so let me see if I can explain it with that. And actually, there's one, if you bear with me,
This
can
is not
you,
a Gaussian curve, is it?
yeah, it is a Gaussian. Can somebody give me, do you have a few minutes? I have 2 more slides I can share with you if you want. So, I have a slide here this is from Swami Jay's website, meaning I pulled it from there, I've added on to it. So, as Krishna is a statistician and he promptly said, this is Gaussian. I was looking for a Gaussian curve, okay? So, and the title of the slide is Psychosis and Mysticism. So, the first thing that we didn't ask when we saw Shankara's comment is he mad? We should question, is he mad? Why? He could be mad. Okay, so we don't. Okay, it's fine. You intuitively don't believe he's mad. Now have you heard of something called DSM-4? DSM-4, anybody? The American Psychiatric Association publishes something called the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual that characterizes mental diseases. Okay, that's why the statistics is important. Okay, the Western characterization of madness is statistical. Okay, so I've drawn this bell curve, right? And let me explain what I mean by this statistical aspect. So let's suppose this is a human being. 2 circles. This is the conscious mind of the human being. This is the unconscious mind. Okay, the stuff that you see in dreams. The ego doesn't let all the unconscious and subconscious come into waking life because that would be a disaster. Right? You have to have an ego structure that makes sense of this. Now let's say you have other people, 2 other people, other minds. Right? These minds intersect, the conscious minds intersect at some place in the middle, right? That is commonly accepted reality. When she said, I'm Carrie, we all have conscious mind, we all said, okay, this person is Carrie. That's accepted reality. But you may have a part of your conscious mind that is personal. Like, Wally might have something more about Carrie that's distinct from what I think. Do you see what I mean? There's a part of your conscious mind that is not intersecting with the commonly accepted reality. But then if it's very close to somebody, I'm a close friend of this person, right? We both share more of this conscious reality, right? You agree? But then there is this unconscious piece that is unexplored unless you're a meditator who has explored the unconscious. Now, suppose you take a human being and this person starts to shrink their notion of reality, conscious mind, becomes so departed. So suppose I start pouring water on my head right now. Okay? Alright? That does not make any sense. It doesn't intersect with the commonly accepted reality. So you call me a psychotic. You may lock me away. Right? Note that that person is a minority. The conscious mind is shrunk. Right? Shrunk beyond the stage of this. But that's not the only option. What if you could expand your conscious mind, transcend the unconscious, personal and collective unconscious mind, and then you could see all viewpoints. You could see everything, you would be able to see everything from everyone's viewpoint because you had worked out the workings of the mind to its basic pieces. Okay? So that is a mystic. They're not very different at some level. We cannot understand a mystic, we can't understand a psychotic. But from the viewpoint of psychotherapy, you can have a concept that this is what that person has done. Right? And you're right, I don't think Shankara is mad either. But I'm just telling you that he's also in a minority. This is what Swami Jay says. Like it or not, the further one travels on a journey, the more you will be in a minority. But you don't have to be worried, you're in good company. Right? Now to come to Krishna's question about Dvaita. Now I don't know if this will answer your question, Krishna, but I prepared it. So at the bottom, and this is a personal thing. So I say there's an atheist. This atheist doesn't believe that there is any realm beyond the physical. That's the Charvaka guy, right? Guys with the most toys wins, and you die and that's it. Okay. Then you may have somebody called an agnostic who says that, well, there could be some realm beyond the physical, but it's not going to change the way I live my life today. Fine, no problem. Keep moving. Then you may have a theist who says that there's God is a supraphysical entity beyond the physical, and it's not equal to human. So there are two. I am here, there is something else which is beyond me, call it omniscience, call it divinity, call it God. Maybe he sits on a big chair and has some attendants, right? That is theism. So then you can go one beyond and say, now this is the Advaita I think that Krishna was asking about. So there is this Satchidananda, Chidananda Rupa Shivoham. I have consciousness that is bliss, right? But then there were people who said that this consciousness is not the same as God's consciousness. There is something different, and that is the consciousness of God. Okay? And so Advaita too, they are not the same. There is nothing you can do that will convince me that they are the same. Okay? They are fundamentally different. And what Shankara says is, and it's my personal prejudice that I have put, he says that there is only one consciousness. This attributeless consciousness is the basis of God and man and everything. There is nothing else. All that you see as name and form is due to the power of Shakti Maya, which makes us see these differences amongst each other. Krishna, does that?
Yes, and I think maybe another feature of this is that his concept of consciousness and God was completely unrelated to the human conceptions. You know, if you look at the Judeo-Christian Islamic traditions,
Right.
the notion of God is very tied down to the human existence.
I'll interject there.
Yeah.
Don't confuse tradition with the original seer.
Okay.
Jesus Christ said, I and my Father are one.
Yeah, but still it was a conception in human terms.
But we don't know if he was bringing it down for the, everything else that he has said is so amazingly bang on the money
Right.
that I cannot see that he might have been saying it for the at that sea.
Sure.
Every great seer at the situation at the time,
At the level of your
That's
student.
that's right, exactly. And so I suspect that the traditions always, any tradition you take, people tend to boil down this insight into some form that they can wrap their consciousness around and work with. And but that's why I put theism there, and I didn't put it as either Judeo-Christian or Islamic or Hindu, if you want to call it Hinduism or any other.
But see, science has perception or information way beyond this human existence, this earth, this solar system, this galaxy, and so on.
Right.
And so any concept of God that is so intimately tied to humans is exceedingly limited in scope.
Okay, so
It has to go beyond. There are universes and universes that science has demonstrated to us. Galaxies and galaxies. Our galaxy, in fact, is only one of many, many zillion possible galaxies.
right. Let me try to say something that may not directly answer your question but may help. Okay? And this is a very good question because we have to, this is the fundamental point. If you actually try to live, the purpose of a philosophy is how you live your life. And you have to make sense of the external world when you live. What the Veda says is that there are two ways of knowing. This is very important. When I said knowledge is a very dangerous word, right? It's a very dangerous word. There is called paravidya, aparavidya. Lower knowledge, para is the knowledge of the other shore. That knowledge which you get through the mind and senses is the lower knowledge. And that is there are perfectly legitimate ways such as science to acquire that lower knowledge. They are needed for the day-to-day conduct of our lives, and that was never ever contradicted, or that is why Veda never has any problem with science. It has encouraged science. Astronomy was totally okay. But there's a very key point. Your way of knowing through mind and senses, if you use that to get to God, you will then be subject to the same problem. Then God and science will clash. But if you practice and actually can see, and I can tell you that there is a way of knowing that is beyond mind and senses, then you will know that there is it's true. There is nothing contradictory. There is a different way of knowing.